Hi, crafty friends, and welcome to my channel. Today we are making a wicked birthday card inspired by the Descendants movies on Disney. My daughter is going to a birthday party, and I wanted to make a simple birthday card for the birthday girl. So I am grabbing the September Fancy Dies of the month, which include that mirror frame looking die, and I also have the Haunted Romance Fancy Dies. So with that mirror die, it is only available as long as supplies last. Meanwhile, the Haunted Romance die, which has that skeleton in the rose, that is available in the Hero Arts store and will be restocked. The first thing I did was die cut that frame out in that gold pearlescent paper. I also went ahead and fussy cut a piece of acetate to be a bit larger than the inner oval. I then die cut the rose out of some white cardstock that I went ahead and added double-sided adhesive to the back of. And I'm just going to ink up the rose first. I am using some cherry core ink for the rose, and I end up using moss ink for the stem of the rose. Once my rose is inked up, I move on to doing the background for my frame here. I just take a pencil and lightly trace around the inner oval so I can get a better idea of placement and making sure my frame ends up being even and the background is even as well. I first go in with key lime fizz, and I add that mainly towards the middle of this A2 card panel. I then go in with Purple Galaxy and place that along one of the edges. I am using a smaller blending brush, and I do switch to a larger one for this section, but I'm just trying to blend this out. I then grab Blue Hawaii and use that as a transition color between the Key Lime Fizz and the Purple Galaxy inks. Once I have this side complete, I go to the opposite side and I add some pitch black ink. This is how my blending is looking so far. I just go ahead and lightly spritz my page and dab off the excess water. The bottom three colors, that Key Lime Fizz, Purple Galaxy, and Blue Hawaii, are reactive inks, although my pitch black is not. But it does help with the blending when you spritz the paper. I also go back in with Purple Galaxy along the top where the pitch black and the key lime fizz meet, and I blend that in. And finally, I grab some unicorn ink and I just dab that all around to give a little bit of distressing, and it helps add variation of color throughout. This ink blending will become a brick wall, so I did not want everything to look flat. I like the look of color variation to help add texture. Here I have die cut that frame and oval out using some nautical cardstock, and I'm just going over that with pitch black and then adding some unicorn ink and blending that all together. I did want that nautical to peek through a bit. That is why I did not just do this over the pearlescent gold paper. I want there to be some color variation seen, and you can kind of see that here. So once that is all blended, I am going to begin stamping my brick wall pattern onto this card panel. This pattern does come from the Hero Arts Mixed Textures 6x8 clear stamp set. And I'm just using my pitch black ink and going to stamp this around. I'm going to end up doing four different areas of this card panel: the top, the bottom, and then the left and the right. And I end up having to use a stamping block because I didn't want that harsh line that you see there at the bottom to be all around the panel, especially on the sides. So I use my stamping block to make sure I only stamp the area of this brick pattern where I'd like it. And because I spritzed this paper with water, it was still a bit warped. So I just went in with an additional A2 sized card panel, and I just reinforced my inked panel. Once that was complete, I just brought my frame and my inked oval back to the card and made sure my placement looked how I wanted it to be. I am going to go ahead and stamp my sentiment, and this is coming from the Halloween Messages stamp set, which is also a release from the September Hero Studio, and it is in the Hero Arts store. It will be restocked if it is sold out. But I wanted to use the Have a Wicked Birthday, and because it is just one long sentiment, I did cut this into two pieces that I can easily piece back together. I make sure that I use an anti-static powder tool because my embossing powder will stick to some of that pigment ink. So once I have done all of this, I place everything back in my MISTI and I stamp and heat emboss this with some white detail ink. Now my heat embossing is not perfect, but I love that because if you look at some of the Snow White imagery, you will see that there are like white swirls in the mirror when the face comes up. So I wanted that kind of effect, and I got it with the sprinkles of the embossing powder around these words. Using the white acrylic spray, I did add a bit of splatter to the card panel. Be sure to clean up your workstation because this does dry permanently. You can see a little bit of splatter in the top left of my mat, and that is from previous uses of it. So if you're going to do this, protect your work surface and clean up immediately to ensure that you don't have this acrylic spray on your surfaces forever. Now it is time to assemble this card. I first add adhesive and put my oval down. I followed the guides of that pencil line that I have. I also fixed some of the minor patchiness with a little bit of ink. I then adhere my frame. Once my frame is adhered, I do go in with an oval cut from acetate and I add that layer in. And then finally, I add on my top gold frame. My finishing touch for this card is to add on my rose, which again, I die cut from some cardstock that had double-sided adhesive on the back. So I just peeled off the backing and put that in place. And there we have my finished card front. Once it is attached to a card base, this is how it is looking. I think it is super cute and perfect for a little girl who loves the Descendants. All right, guys, so that is all that I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.